Now, this is great. Welcome to the Not Just Real Estate podcast.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be rich.
It was never anything I ever thought about getting out of high school. So, the Not Just Real Estate podcast. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about it. Like, what does this show mean to you? And, you know, how do you feel about not just real estate?
I'm excited. I think it's going to be an opportunity for people to get to know, us as a team, but also our community and, understand a little bit more about, the real estate career and how it works.
Well, I'm shy, so I don't know what
You shy?
Oh, no.
I think it's a good idea. This is the first time that I have ever been on a podcast, so I think it's a cool idea. I like to see where it goes and how it grows. I'm interested in seeing that and being a part of the process.
I mean, we've been real estate agents for, a long time, everything like that. Like, what made you become a real estate agent? Like,
Honestly?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be rich. I was going to make all this money, going to be driving around these nice big cars, had a big spot. But I just thought the money was just going to be dripping off of trees, and I was just going to be picking it off and just going on and spending it. That was my idea of real estate. In reality, go ahead.
What about you?
So I'm from a family of contractors, and I've always enjoyed the building process, seeing it all come together. And I ended up working as a foreclosure photographer. So basically, if homes were going into foreclosure, I would inspect and just, make sure people were living there, what the condition was, and all of that. And it was depressing. And I said, I need to get on the positive side of real estate. And I've always seen a home not only as a great investment, but something, a new chapter in people's lives, kind of a starting point and, and a place to gather. So it's just always been really important to, support that.
Yeah. Real estate was never anything I ever thought about getting out of high school, going to college. I thought I was going to be a musician, to be honest.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be a rock star.
Oh.
All
right.
Just out there touring and, living out of a suitcase and everything
Living
like
your
that.
best life.
Right,
Okay.
living my best life, And so instead of doing any of that, I found myself working a 9-to-5, like everybody else, just trying to put food on the table and everything like that. And then me and my sister-in-law, actually, she was sister-in-law and another musician friend of mine was kind of talking about becoming. They was like, hey, let's start a studio. Right? Like, let's start a studio. And, we had these visions about, teaching people how to play music and things like that.
Cool.
And so we were like, well, what's the first thing we need to do? Like, if we could become a real estate agent, we could find some cheap buildings, right? So my mindset was thinking, like, if you're a real estate agent, you know where all the deals are at. You can get there before everybody else. And let's go, right? And come to find out, like, yeah, I was wrong. Like, that's not the truth. He's like, but I mean, we went to this real estate, kind of a gathering they had and just kind of like giving people a little bit of idea of what it was about. And I don't know, I was watching it there and I just said to myself, I could do this. I was like, I could do this. And I hated my job anyway. Like I was there. I hated the 9-to-5 situation, right? It's like, no offense to anybody do 9-to-5. Like, I mean, that's cool, But I felt like I don't belong here, And so I looked at it and just like, I could do this. And, 17 years later, I'm still doing it. So. Okay. I guess I could.
Okay.
Sometimes I can't. I thought I could. One of the things that surprised me the most, and I know, like, if you're out there, you're thinking about being a real estate agent one day, is the cost. Like, did anybody ever talk to you about how much it's going to cost to start being a real estate agent? You ever heard anything about that? Like,
No.
Nah.
No.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
You just
Well,
think.
it all depends on what you think expensive is.
Right. True. True.
Okay, from my viewpoint, it's very expensive. No one talked to me. They just told me, get your license, take your test, get your license, and then come back and pick a company that you want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Happy with my license.
Right. Right.
I was trying to think of what kind of payment plans y'all gonna put me on because I didn't have that at the time. But motivation kicks in and you come up with it, and then you start, and it's like, okay, well, where's that tree? Where's that money tree? I done paid this money.
Yeah, no, I knew I would have to, invest a certain amount, but what kind of shocked me was I got my first deal in contract and then I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I've got the ball rolling, and then I found Lauren and his partner at the time and they saved my butt. So it was great. But there's a mentorship, there's a certain amount of time you need to learn the business, and I don't think that's as apparent as we know.
It was all a shocker to me because like you're used to working a 9 to 5, so you're used to being told when to come to the office and when you can leave and when your lunch is and things like that. And I remember when I started my career, I was we had just got our sales development training, and even the sales development training, be here at 9 o'clock in the morning. You have lunch at 12, and then you're done at 2, right? And so the first day out, I was like, okay, and I asked my, the teacher of the training. I was like, so what do I do now? He was like, I don't care what you do. You're self-employed. You can do whatever you want. And I'm just like, oh, really? Like, I'm used to somebody telling me what to do. Like, you ain't giving me nothing to do. Like, I'm an assignment. Like, so it was like a deer in the headlights. Like, oh my God, okay, this is, and I remember seeing another agent in the copy room. And I was like, hey, how do you work the copy machines? I don't know. And just kept walking. I was like, dang, all right. I guess it's a dog-eat-dog world out here. I guess I better figure this out,
Yeah.
That was a big thing. I mean, even like when you're taking the test, people always talk about, hey, what do I gotta, they always ask me all the time, what do I need to study for the real estate exam? How do you know if I can pass the study exam? Can I follow you around and just kind of learn what it's like to be a real estate agent so I can take my test? And I'm gonna ask you a question. When's the last time you ever used anything from that test for your career?
There's a few words in the back there somewhere, but yeah, very, very little.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word easement used to come up when I was reading the test, and I'm like, okay, I got this, and I passed the test and everything. I didn't really understand what an easement was until probably about 4 or 5 years into my career. Like, oh, that was what the easement, that's what it, okay, I got it now. But it clicked in. So none of that stuff that we study, not none of it, but most of it that we study, we don't put it into play, or we don't relate it to it until we're actually in the job of real estate. Yeah. And then it's fun. It's just a different world. Working for yourself is a different thing, period.
It is. I mean, there's nothing in there about contracts,
no,
or disclosures, or even just the simple fact about how to get a client and how to take them from point A to point B to point C to hopefully close and actually get a check. You know what I mean? So I mean, like we're in California, right? When I first started, the contract was like 6 pages, and I sound old when I say that, but it was only 6 pages. Now it's like, what, 16?
16 pages.
It's 16 pages.
It is.
I was like, just find more ways to say the same thing.
Right.
Because somebody got sued.
Yes.
So how long you been in the business?
So I got licensed in 2013, so about 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
So what would you say, I mean, not to scare everybody, but like what would you say is like your most rewarding moment as a real estate agent? Like what was the thing that just gave you that, that big sigh of euphoria, like, oh, I love this job?
My first paycheck. No. No, we're all guilty of that. But that moment when you can give your client their keys, there's few things that are as rewarding, and for them to be able to open their own home and get started, that's just phenomenal. And I think our earlier clients are a little more special because we spend more time with them, and
that never gets old.
No.
That part never gets old. It's wonderful to be able to give someone the keys, like you said.
Yeah.
Just the fact that it was hard for them. A lot of them, it's hard for them to get into the house for various reasons. It's just they had to push through it. Every time something happens, it's like, are we going to get it? Yes, you're going to get it. We're going to make this happen. We're going to, don't worry about it. You got this. And then when they get it, it's like, okay, you feel like you moving in. All right, we done got a home. We good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is wonderful. Yeah. Man.
I think with me, I know I love working with like first time home buyers, right? And it's just always it is that emotional moment. Like, I've had several clients give them the keys and they're just crying, and it's like that. I always say about being a real estate agent, it's like you're part of three major moments in a person's life. Typically it's marriage or a child, and then buying your home. You know what I mean? And it feels good to be a part of one of those three major moments in a person's life. And whether they're young or whether they're old and it's their first time buying a home, it's just something about it. You know what I mean? That just makes you go, oh, can't wait to do this again. It's never been about the money, because I've sold a lot of homes and didn't make nothing. You know what I mean? Like I remember being in the office.
It's a little about the money.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but it's like, there's no real like reward for like, especially when you're doing first time home buyer stuff like that. Your price range is not the same. Right. And I remember selling a bunch of homes one year, and like I think I sold like maybe 25, 26 homes, and I was like, maybe my second or third year in the business, stuff like that, and I was like, I'm doing good. I'm top 10 in the real estate company. Like I think I might be number one. Like I asked them, who has the most transactions so far, and I was like, oh, you do. I'm like, yeah. I think I'm number one. Like, it's not about transactions, it's about volume.
Like, price tag of that house.
The other agent, he was number one. He only sold 5 homes that year. I was just like, oh, okay, I see. He working smarter, not harder. I'm over here going crazy.
So I had one client who she just really struggled to pre-qualify, and her credit was marginal. And then she ended up making a big purchase. And so we were already in contract, things were rolling, and it just was a downward spiral. Her credit dropped, and just it was like you couldn't catch a break, and it was just really difficult because, she was looking to me to fix it. And yet, when there's certain things the client is responsible for, and when they cross that line, then, you can't, as an agent, we are limited. But it was just, with a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of, time trying to figure out a way to make it work. And it was very difficult, because you want to help, but, sometimes you're in a situation you can't. So
I remember having this overzealous client, and they were just like, so like happy about buying this home and things like that. And I remember vividly, like, you walked in this house is vacant for a little while, right? And so there was a spider, big old spider web, big black widow in there. I was like, every time I walked in the house, like, oh, there goes Charlotte. You know what I mean? Charlotte's there, right? And so, we walk in this house, and I see the spider web, and she was like, yeah, we need to clean the house up and stuff like that. I was like, well, when the house closes, we can do whatever we need to do, right? And I remember one time, I think we walked out the house, and she's like, oh, I said, let me lock all the doors. Oh, I'll lock the back one. You know what I mean? I know the person for a while, so I'm like, okay, no big deal. And so I was like, we would lock the door, I leave, and everything like that. It looked like she left. It looked like she was vacated, like she was evicted. You know what I mean? She didn't vacate on her own. Like she was evicted out of there.
No spider, no web.
No spider, no web, no sign Charlotte was ever there, right? And so nothing, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the agent or the owner, it's not unnormal, uncommon for to have the house broom, we always say broom swept, condition on the way out, stuff like that. And they had moved out of town, like no big deal, but we noticed that the top floor was leaking down into the kitchen, right? And so I'm just like, where's that water coming from? I went upstairs, realized that somebody had, flushed the toilet and overflowed in one of the bathrooms and was dripping down into the kitchen. And so I'm like, so I went to action, tried to find some towels, and went to the neighbor's house, got a plunger, plunged it to get the water down, everything like that. And she was just kind of like, I think, I don't know what kind of water that was. I don't know if that had been poo-poo water, whatever like that. I'm just like, I don't know. But I'm like, so I called the agent. I'm like, hey, man, we got a problem. The thing, we're on our final walkthrough. Water's coming down, things of that sort. And I was like, but I appreciate you guys. I mean, did you guys come in and, have a housekeeper come in and clean it up like that? He's like, no. never had nobody come clean our house up. I'm like, really? Like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, no, he didn't have nobody come clean our house up. And I'm like, and I can't verify it. I have no proof. I have no idea. But I mean, that back door was not locked, when it was supposed to be locked. And all of a sudden, Charlotte ain't in her web. I got a funny feeling. I think the buyer went in there early and overzealousness and had the house clean and didn't say nothing and probably had that toilet flush. But I don't know. But I know after that moment, I was like, that the person just made it so hard to fix that situation. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this no more. That was like one of the moments where it almost took me out the industry, because it was just like, that was stressful. We did everything we could to try to make the situation right. And of course, like we just say any time, like, hey, let's just cancel. Wouldn't be no problem. You get your deposit back, no big deal. But it's like the person really, really wanted the house, but they couldn't get out of their own way with thinking what could have been in that water that was dripping down into the kitchen, which was just toilet water. But toilet water is just faucet water, you know what I mean? But some people don't know that. Like, kids don't realize that sometimes. Like, are you drinking toilet water? Yeah. This is out of a bottle, right? It ain't always Mountain Spring. But like, that definitely, like, that was a moment right there for me. Like, what about you?
I don't, I've had clients that have done things that should not have done things, because I myself has unknowingly allowed somebody to get into a house and do some things, and that right there is devastating, because we trust, and we have to we as agents are responsible for these homes, and so we can't allow people to do things. We have to go back and backtrack. Even now, it's in my mind. After an open house, when we do an open house, you go check, and I'm going right behind you. Let's check again. Make sure all these doors and everything is closed, because it's our responsibility to make sure that people's homes are safe and secure. And so that is very important. And people are people. They are so excited about getting in these houses that they don't think it through, and we have to make sure that we help think it through. I think the time that I left, and it wasn't because of a client, it was more because of the crash that happened. At that time, it was trying to find some clients, and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. It was like, okay, what's this backup? Because once we get the check, that's it. If there's no money, and we can show houses all day long, but we don't get paid. Mm-hmm. People think that it looks good on HGTV that people go show houses and everything, and we're looking at houses, and I love looking at some houses. We have some nice ones, but we don't get paid to do that. We get paid when the actual contract goes through, escrow closes, and all that stuff. So it wasn't that stuff happening. So I had to think, okay, Yvonne, you gonna keep doing real estate, or you gonna go out here and get something else? Because it's not happening now. So that was the time that I did for a minute, and then I came back, because real estate, I love real estate.
Yeah,
I do love real estate. I love interacting with the people. I just I like it. That's the thing. We're good together, because we're one's weak, the other one's strong, and I just love real estate.
Yeah.
It's a relationship business, and you
really
do. You form these deep relationships, and you're part of, like Lauren said, people's biggest moments.
Right.
And there's a lot of ups and downs, but
right.
I think
they become family.
They do. Absolutely.
They become family.
Well, I mean, I guess long story short, don't become a real estate agent unless you love people. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta love what you do. You gotta love people. You gotta love, you gotta love working hard. You gotta love a lot of things. But, I don't feel like, I think since being a realtor, I don't feel like I've worked, a day in my life, because I love the peaks and valleys of it. The highs, there's lows, but at the end of the day, like, it's about, it's always about the people, and hoping that you help them realize their dream, and don't get into it for the wrong reason, because you would be disappointed. You never got that house. You never got the house, the car, the luxury jet. Nothing like that.
No, I didn't get that. I'm still driving around in my car, luxury jet. No tree. I didn't find that tree with the money hanging off of it. I can pick off of it. Find that one. It's okay though, because like she said, I love dealing with the people. It's just so it has the highs, it has the lows. You just have to ride the wave. Don't take anything personal. Just ride the wave, because it's definitely going to be a lot of waves going on. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people when they first come into it. They end up not staying long because it's not smooth sailing. It really is not. It's something. It's the hustle that you have to enjoy to make it through.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I mean, hey, I appreciate it. This is one of our first shows, and hoping to do many, many more. We'll have some guests on from time to time and to give you some, some ins and outs of something other than real estate,
Yes.
But, if you have real estate questions, things like that, leave them in the comment section, things like that, and hopefully we can answer them. Hopefully if you, thinking about becoming a real estate agent, this will give you a little bit of idea of what it's like. But, hey, I mean, we're going to have some fun on the show. So, I appreciate us being on here together. This is going to be, it's going to be fun, what I mean? But it's not just the real estate, what I mean? So it's not just real estate. So appreciate you guys. And, hey, until next time, back out.